So ICANN is interesting because it was formed to do a very limited and necessary job, but because it's really the only organization that has global attention, global span, and is specifically devoted to the internet, it's very natural for many people to say, well, then everything related to the internet or every security issue related to the internet must be related to ICANN.
ICANN is a very unusual institution in the sense that because it's the internet, we want it to be global. We want it to be internationally integrated, because anything that happens on the internet, in principle, is globally accessible.
You could ask yourself the question, would it be better if the multi-stakeholder model would be changed into something that the governments would control?
We need a global institution. We need some kind of global agreement about how to do this.
We still live in a world with national states which have their own sovereignty. But with the internet, this will not go away. But governments have to rethink whether they can continue in traditional way meeting these global challenges, because the internet does not stop on the national border.
I think it's better to do it through a private sector organization that's rooted in the technical community and has civil society representation and business representation, rather than through national governments.
ICANN has always been seen as the organization that tries to manage domain names and IP addresses in such a way that there is no, let's say, European participation. It's always seen as it's an American institution, it's an American corporation, and at the end, in Europe we say, well, it's governed by the states.
I don't think it's a very good idea when you want to be an international organization, which they have the best intentions to be, but they should do something about the management, which is completely American at this point.
The U.S. has so much of an advantage in terms of technological prowess. In some sense, they are reaping the benefits of good policies. Europeans or Asians who want to become business people on the internet have actually migrated to the U.S. because of the better infrastructure and the better policies. So, for example, the World Wide Web protocol was invented by a European, but where is he now? But there are bad aspects to the U.S. dominance also. There are things that are not fair and that are just pure, dominance. What is it we say about, you will get me to give up my control of the internet after you pry it from my cold, dead fingers, right? And the Bush administration definitely had that attitude. The Obama administration is a little more relaxed, but still, at some level, even the most liberal American will start turning into a raving chauvinist when you talk about internationalizing the governance of the internet.
I was in Russia a couple of years ago, and a senior official said, what would happen if the U.S. took Russia off the internet? I had to smile a little bit because the U.S. cannot do it. I mean, there's no way to do it. Russia is well connected to the internet. There's too many different ways it's connected. He asked me the other question, what would happen if ICANN took Russia out of the root? Well, that would be a more interesting situation, but the problem with that is that the political reaction would be immediate. It would be very harsh, and also there would be workarounds instantly. ICANN has no interest one way or the other. It's a U.S. corporation as a matter of just being somewhere, but it's not a tool of the U.S. government. It serves the entire globe.
Generally, I would say that the question of who owns the internet is the wrong question to ask. Really, it's not a question of rights or responsibility or ownership. It's a question of responsibilities and public service. There are many of us out there who are responsible for our part of the internet and think that we run it really in public trust. It is critical infrastructure now for the planet. It is something that many of us have a strong responsibility for our part for, and we do it for the better good of the internet and for the people as a whole. And so really it's not about ownership in that way.
question was, do you have cheese, yes or no?
This is what we need first.
How long do you have?
Don't quote that.
The editing of this is going to be fun.
Do I have to hug him?
Everything is proceeding exactly on schedule.